I'm here with Louis Stradum, Head of PwC Forensic Services, Southern Africa. We're taking a look at confronting the changing face of economic crime. This is the Global Economic Crime Survey. Can you tell us, what is an economic crime?
That would be a crime where something of value is misappropriated or stolen, which will result in a loss to a company, an institution, and overall an economy.
And Louis, is there more economic crime now than before? What is the trend?
If we look at the trend from South Africa specifically, going back to the 2005 Economic Crime Survey, it actually came down from, in those years, 83% to a percentage of 62% in 2011, and we've seen an increase of 7% to 69% for the 2013 Economic Crime Survey. What concerns me is that overall, in terms of the trend of being affected by economic crime as a South African entity, from 83% in 2005 with a definite down slope in terms of the occurrence to 2011, and now suddenly an increase by 7%. I would have thought that should have come down, but then again, if I look at the focus on economic crime from companies, public sector, private sector, as well as regulators, I think there's a positive look into what's happening and a definite positive attitude in the investigation and prosecution of those crimes. So that could be a reason for the increase. If I look at the categories added this year, which have never been added before, procurement fraud as well as human resources fraud, very high. It's not a surprise to me. We know in terms of our own history here with regards to tender frauds and the way we procure, that it's a massive issue in our country. So I'm not surprised that those are high. And then the fact that bribery and corruption is higher than the rest of the globe, also no surprise. I've expected those stats to be high.
Asset misappropriation was the biggest economic crime. Can you give us an example of what would that look like?
That would be anything in terms of the definition of an asset would, for instance, someone that's stolen stock at a company. I am selling computers, and now some of those computers disappear. I'm selling cabling, some of that disappear, or cash balances from a bank account. That would be considered an asset. Even misusing a company vehicle would be a misappropriation of a company asset. So the vehicle belongs to the company. I sneak it out over a weekend and I go to Durban and back with that. That would include asset misappropriation.
What would a human resources fraud be?
A human resources fraud would be where employees or the company is being defrauded through employees, i.e. ghost workers, probably the most predominant one, booking overtime where you didn't work it, so collecting overtime. And give you an example, my supervisor signs off on my overtime, but there's a deal between the two of us. If I collect $500 in overtime this month, a percentage of that will go to him.
Bribery and corruption is notoriously difficult to detect and track and prosecute. So how does the PwC Global Economic Crime Survey report on this or pick it up? Or, I mean, where do these statistics come from?
Statistics comes from our interviews with, in South Africa alone, 134 entities, globally over 5,000 entities, where they have experienced bribery and corruption. So specific examples where it's been reported to them, and it could be internally detected, it could be through lifestyle audits of employees. Someone's earning a certain amount per year. If you look at that individual's lifestyle, he owns a yacht on the Vaal, owns a house at the river, owns a holiday home in Cape Town, he's got a few racing horses, way outside of his means. So it could be through many ways where this is being detected.
8 out of 10 senior managers in South Africa may be committing economic crimes. How can that be possible?
Our stats reflect that middle management together with senior management is about 77% of internal frauds being perpetrated. That is very concerning because that shows a dramatic increase from the previous economic crime survey in 2011 of approximately 10% in increase only on senior manager level. So that shows us that senior managers are mostly responsible for committing and perpetrating economic crime internally in a company.
One of the most effective measures to either prevent or apprehend economic crime seems to be fraud risk management. Can you tell us about that?
Fraud risk management would be looking into your control systems in order to address the risk of fraud. Now, to look into something like that is different to standard, normal internal audit procedures. So you would actually look at your transaction flows, the way you procure, the way you do business, the way you sell your stuff, the way you make your money, and the way you engage with vendors. You will then look at ways where the company can be defrauded. You will then put controls in to actually address those risks. For instance, cybercrime, I believe cyber security and crime is one of the biggest issues and risks a business can face today. Why? We're living in the age of technology. It changes every single day, and the sophistication of cyber criminals increases and improves every single day, and they don't necessarily have to be sitting next door. They could be sitting in any place in the world. So you will put in specific measures to address the risk of cyber security, for instance. These type of control measures is something one needs to look at on a regular basis and evaluate those. You can't put it in and say 2 years later, well, I've done that, but I've never tested it and evaluated the effectiveness thereof because of the way that the sophistication in economic crime increases on a daily basis.
Do we in South Africa have the economic means to adequately investigate and uncover and deal with cybercrime?
No, I don't believe we've got sufficient resources and skills to properly address the risk of cybercrime and the investigation thereof. We have a handful of very, very well experienced and qualified individuals in the forensic technology investigative space. We definitely do not have enough resources. A lot of money is being spent by private sector, public sector, as well as regulatory agencies such as the Central Bank, the Financial Services Board, the South African Police Service, in order to enhance their skills in that space. But we do not have enough in South Africa currently.